Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. Welcome, everyone. We are excited today because we get to have Mike Nemeth back on the show. He's an author that we've known for a few years now, and he comes on Big Blend Radio on different podcasts, but we thought it was time to have an insider chat with him, a nice Q&A. We love to do this. It's our Success Insider series, and he answered 10 questions we sent him. The link is in the episode notes if you want to read them. But he is a fiction author and also a nonfiction author in the past too. And he's just a super interesting gentleman who knows how to really write amazingly. So I think we first met him with his novel, The Undiscovered Country. He's also talked about the two lives of Eddie Kovacs and also his recent novel, which is A Tissue of Lies. So keep up with Mike at Mike Nemeth, Mike Nemeth author.com. So welcome back, Mike. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it is always good to chat with you. We always go somewhere we're not supposed to like stick to the rules. We don't do well with that, I don't think. How is that as a writer? Like, they always talk about artists aren't always going to color within the lines. That's the true art, but you have to know about the lines before you can color out of them. So is it like that for an author too? Because I might as well just go where we're not supposed. We didn't say that we were going to talk about that.
It is definitely like that for an author. We are the target of much instruction, much criticism, much. Everybody's got an opinion, and of course, in the academic world, there's a right way to do this, right? And it just doesn't work out that way sometimes. If you're a creative, I think it was Oscar Wilde who said, there are these moments where divine intervention happens and you just start coloring outside those lines.
Yeah, I agree with that. So as an author and understanding creativity, but also doing fiction, and I know that you're into sports, right?
There are,
Sports has a lot of rules, like
right.
writing does. And then it's like, here's, scores and referees that tell you what to do. And then people get mad at the referees. I think sometimes more than they do at the players. And then politics gets into it now, and money and all kinds of things get into it. So, but creativity is what can save a game, right?
I'm sorry,
It
creativity
is what can save a game in sports, right? Being creative
sure.
about getting a goal or whatever. I don't know anything about sports other than we turn classical music on when a game, whether it's football or whatever. That's our creativity.
It's interesting that you say that. I was a basketball player when I was young, and the game today is completely different. And it's because of creativity. It's
Okay.
because the athletes are both more athletic, but also freer. They are freer to do their thing in the game. When I was growing up, coaches were tyrants, basically. And you can look at people like Bobby Knight and so forth. There was just one way to play the game for those sort of people. That's
Mm-hmm.
all gone. That's really all gone. And I think it's mostly because the kids today, I say kids, everybody who's playing is a lot younger than I am. The kids today are so much more athletic and have a different sort of spirit. Uh, they don't look at the game as being constrained by just one set of rules. So yeah, creativity has come to the world of sport.
Well, I think Ted Lasso showed us that. That's that series. I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso
I
at
have
all.
not. I have
Oh
not.
my gosh. You know what? It took me, like Nancy, a few years. And then we were at some friends in Oregon, and we pet sitters, we travel taking care of their dog. And they sat Nancy and I down and said, you two have to watch this. And I'm like, we don't know anything about sports. I'm like, don't worry about it. Watch it. And it's about creativity. And I think, it's creativity in business as well, because sports is a business too, right?
Oh, very much now. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good thing. Creativity is good. Did you use creativity in your nonfiction work?
I did. I found nonfiction. So I wrote about two subjects, sports subjects, very close to my heart: the NCAA tournament that's called March Madness, and the college football playoffs. So yeah, there's a little bit of creativity in there, but I found nonfiction to be hard work. There are rules about nonfiction. To get nonfiction books published, you have to have this and that and the other thing, and bibliographies, and you have to give credit to all the people who are sources, and all the quotes that you include in your nonfiction work and so forth. Just really hard work. I like Michael Lewis very much, for example, as a nonfiction author. I can't think of his name right now, the guy who wrote The Tipping Point. But anyway, I give those guys a lot of credit, because that's truly hard work. Fiction for me is not hard work.
Sounds
Fiction
fun
is
for you.
just fun, because I can allow my characters to do whatever they want, really, as we tell a story. There's a whole lot less form involved, a whole lot more creativity involved.
Well, let's look at your life as a whole and your experiences in life. Does that help you write? I know you're a pilot. Oh my gosh, we're going to have to get Mike back on another show to tell his pilot story of being in 9/11. But this not in New York. He was in Colorado, and that's another story to be told. So stay tuned for that, y'all. But you're a pilot. You served in the military during Vietnam. You also went into the geek world, right? The techie world, and so you've had all these different sports, and then nonfiction. Do those experiences lead you to, like, does it help you when you write? Like, especially when you talk about Eddie Kovacs, was your military background a little helpful for you?
Well, more than probably helpful. I guess I can give a little bit of this away. If you ask my daughter, she would tell you, read my 4 novels, and you have read my dad's life story. So I do include all of those experiences, but then I dramatize them. So, people say, they might be asking me about a particular book and something that happens in the book, and they'll say, did that really happen? Did you really go through that? And I have to admit, a lot of the time, well, no, not exactly. I dramatized it to make it a better part of a better story, but I did draw upon my experience to know what that was like, where it happened, how it looked, how it smelled, the feelings I had at the time, all do go into my fiction. Yeah.
Now, when you look at your career as a writer, both fiction and nonfiction, how many years has that spanned when you think about it, and how much change has happened? Because I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like the whole world of publishing, whether it's books or magazines, even podcasting, media, it's just like storytelling has just changed so much. It's insane.
Well, it has. So the answer is 12 years. So in 2013, I was still working and traveling internationally. So I wrote my first novel on airplanes and in hotel rooms. And it actually took 3 years to get published, to actually become a physical object. January of 2016, I think. So a very long process. The publishing industry is very slow. There was a question you asked.
The changes, yeah.
What were my pet peeves? And I actually.
Oh, in the Q&A, yeah.
Yeah, I did not list that. It's a fact of life. I didn't list it. I could have, but there are so many pet peeves that I didn't have room for it. But
so this would be our rants and raves show then.
But the insurance industry is really being revolutionized now, and in a lot of ways for the better, and in some ways I'm not sure. In some ways, maybe not as good.
Mm. Well, the storytelling still remains, though. That's the key thing, but it has to be, seems to be adapting. You have to kind of change with how audiences are. Sometimes it's like 1 minute they say keep things really short because people just attention spans, and then it's like no, because of AI and everything, that things are now long form and more personal, like just in magazine life, right? So things have changed on that end. Has it changed for you as an author? And when you get into the world of editors and everything, do they want everything to be shorter, 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 or does it matter?
There are now so many books that you really have to distinguish yourself somehow. You have to separate yourself to get noticed. That's the first point. And the second point is you have to keep their attention. Attention spans are tiny now. So, and you can see it actually, the same thing has happened to movies.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all movies now begin with something splashy, right? A hook,
Yeah.
something
Mm-hmm.
to get people to continue to watch the movie. If you watch movies that were made in like the 90s, there's this slow, gradual build up, typically at the beginning of a movie. Same thing is true of fiction. If you read older novels,
Mm.
you'll find that gradual buildup of tension. Whereas if you read contemporary novels, you'll find, and a lot of times, and I've even done it myself, there'll be a prologue, right? And something that hooks the reader and says, you really need to continue to read this book.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about publishers, they're looking for that. They're looking for that hook at the beginning.
The call, it's like a call to action to the reader, even though they're starting to read.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. So I think that's different. Now, it didn't really change my approach very much because I began fairly recently, 12 years ago.
Mm.
So
But I
I've
find,
always been in that mode.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the 90s because you also think of things when you look at movies in the 90s, there were more stories that were more of the human condition. You know what I mean? It had those little nuances of human connection, just little things. And think about Seinfeld, right? The
Yeah.
sitcom, the show about nothing. And yet
Yeah.
it was it was the human condition. It wasn't about nothing. It was the human condition, and some characters. And I think that the 90s, and sometimes when you go and look at today's, shows and things, I kind of feel there's an emptiness depending, that kind of, I don't know, just there's not, it just depends. But then
No,
you get these indie films, indie series that end up on Netflix. And we do a lot of interviews with filmmakers and documentarians, which I think that was a great era that came out. It was the era of the documentary. Thank goodness. They expose a lot, and we need to do something on journalism that really goes in depth, and I love them, what they're doing these days. But it seems like indie filmmakers are trying to get back into that, yet still keep to that. Let's move it quick, but rather make a story shorter about something smaller. Does you know what I mean? Instead of, and you could do a saga that keeps continuing on instead of one big book. Same thing as a movie. It's like, let's look at 3 movies out of this, and chop it up because of the bite size.
I,
Yeah.
Yellowstone has had a tremendous influence because it is, a multi-year series that covers a lot of territory. But then came the origin stories, right? Taylor Sheridan is an amazing human being. His productivity level, I don't imagine he has any time to sleep.
Mm.
So then you get the origin stories, and it actually happened to me. So I wrote The Two Lives of Eddie Kovacs, thinking it was a standalone novel about this guy. And then after watching, I think it was the first origin story, 1883, I said, I can do that. I can write Eddie's origin story, and that became A Tissue of Lies.
See that, and it can continue on. Is there more? What's going on
There,
now? I should ask you. Yes, what's happening?
I kind of have brackets now, when he was young and when he was 65, I guess, in The Two Lives of Eddie Kovacs. So there's a lot of territory in between. And of course, I, I used the shameless device of letting people hang a little bit at the end of the Two Lives of Eddie Kovacs. So there could be a sequel, or there could be, I don't even know what the term is for something that fits in the middle.
Mm, that's interesting, huh? So this main character, I mean, obviously I know you're pulling from your life, like you said. So that's kind of an interesting thing to even reflect. Most people go and write, hey, here's my family history, but you're going to write like a novel and then maybe another one off of it, and who knows what's coming next. Are you writing now? Are you?
I am. So again, I'm kind of writing a prequel to The Undiscovered Country. It
Ooh.
it doesn't have a title yet. The Undiscovered Country is about Randall's mother, who suddenly becomes critically ill, and he thinks someone is trying to murder his mother, and the police don't believe him. But she ends up in the hospital, and doctors can't figure out what's wrong with her. And so he's got to save his mother's life all by himself. And it turns out Mama had a secret that had put her in jeopardy. Well,
Oh.
so I'm now
Are
writing.
you doing the cliffhanger to us? Are you doing the call to action right now already? And the book's not out yet? You're doing good. You're setting it up. This is good.
Thank
So
you.
Mama's Got a Secret. I like that's a great title, by the way. I just think that's because when it's a mother having a secret, that makes you think like, all kinds of things.
Well, and again, it goes back to a time, because she's elderly, when parents didn't share their
Oh yeah.
secrets with
The
their
silent
children.
generation.
I have conversations with my brother and sister to this day saying, did you ever know about this? Or did you ever hear about that? Did they ever tell you something about this? Because our parents were tight-lipped. It was all about our future and not their past.
Oh, that was a smart move.
Yep.
That kind of happened with Nancy's family too, same generation, but we found out one of her aunts died, and she gets this letter in the mail, and all of a sudden it lists everybody who's getting, some inheritance. And then she found out that she had more brothers and sisters, all with the same names, and that her dad had three families all at the same time. How about that? And no, he was not Mormon or any of those. He was just a bad boy.
I'll be darned.
Seriously. And
That,
so they're all over the country, and it's weird because we travel a lot and places suck you in. Like we keep going to Asheville, North Carolina, just is one of those things. But there are places that we keep returning to, and we still cover in our publications to this day. And we found out her family is all through, well, mine too, right? All through these areas are their main where they're living. And it's just weird because we never went to these places thinking about them. So I don't know if there's weird DNA stuff that we don't understand in the world that's just woo woo, right? Like woo woo stuff happens and you end up in a place. I mean, it's weird. It's absolutely bizarre, our family story, and it is from that generation who I think they got away with a lot more than what people think.
they had pasts. They
Yeah,
all have
everybody
a past.
does.
Uh,
Everybody does.
Everybody has a past. Yep. And That just wasn't part of family life in the 60s and 70s or the 50s either. Just wasn't part of it. Nope, nope, nope. You kids don't need to know anything. We're just your parents now and we're going forward.
Do you watch shows like the Finding Your Roots, like family history stories? Do you ever watch any of those things?
I do, yeah, and almost everybody ends up being surprised, right? I'm sure
Yeah,
that's why they were chosen, but yeah, there are all kinds of surprises out there.
I know it's fun, and that's what family history. We do a lot of genealogy shows, and yeah, it's interesting because next thing you know, one writer, Elaine Powers, next thing you know, she's like, oh well, I found I'm related to Edgar Allan Poe and to English royalty, and I'm like, what is going on? And then the other lady is like, well, my ancestor got hanged for stealing chickens, and it's like, what is going on? This is so much fun, though. So do you ever delve into genealogy to help your stories?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's uh, part of a subplot, I guess, of A Tissue of Lies, where Eddie, young Eddie, and his grandmother, he's going through history with her. His grandmother is willing to tell him things and talk to her, and he discovers all kinds of things about the maternal side of his family that his own mother had never revealed,
Mm.
would never tell him. Um, and in fact, that's based upon my own family, uh, where uh, my cousin and I, in particular, I think, have been doing the ancestry.com thing,
Oh,
and
cool.
then sharing notes and going back and forth and so forth. And it's amazing. Things I never knew until I was an old guy,
This is
and I
golden
enjoy.
delicious for a writer,
I,
though, when you find all these things.
well, it's good. It's good information to use in a dramatic way. Uh, but it's also very comforting for me. I think had I known some of these things when I was younger, growing up with my parents, I wouldn't have appreciated them in the same way that I do now. Uh,
Yeah.
it means more to me to know this stuff today.
I'm glad you're learning it, though. It's fascinating because we're all becoming, you know, mystery solvers in our lives with all this family history. So we're gonna have to get you, so we're gonna have to do a pilot show. We're gonna have to do another family history show soon. We do them every quarter or so we know that Mike needs to be on there so we can get some of his family scandal. I'm just saying, Mama's got a secret. Oh my gosh, that's like a song or something. That's gonna stay with me all day. I'm gonna go ask Nancy what her secret is. I know she's got some, she's got to. Okay, so in the Q&A we sent you, and everyone, the link is in the episode notes. I'm also going to send you a link for some previous interviews with Mike. So we'll have a little playlist of interviews so people can learn more about your books too. But one of the things that I found interesting, I asked about your lifestyle changes to become an author, and you're the first one who talked about fashion. Come on, what's going on? You have to have authors fashion. There's a look. Well, Nancy found it as an artist, wildlife artist, because she just looked normal, and she sold more paintings if she put a beret on her head. So
Absolutely.
this
So
is wild.
when the Undiscovered Country was published in 2016, uh, I had only just retired, so my clothing was all business attire. My hair was short and neat and whatever. I was clean shaven, and so I went to a book signing, the very first one I ever had, in what we knew as business casual. So a dress shirt under a blazer, dress
Oh
slacks,
wow.
loafer, that sort of thing. So I'm sitting at my table, and this I'll call them elderly. This elderly couple comes up to the table to get a book signed, and the woman bent forward to get a really close look at me. And she said, I thought a man who wrote thrillers would look more like Indiana Jones. And, and her husband elbowed her in the ribs and said, no, dear, the hero looks like Indy. The author should look like Indy's father. So I grew a beard, let my hair grow, bought some bohemian clothing. And now when people come up to the signing table, they think, yeah, this guy's an author.
Oh, so do you feel more comfortable now?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah, actually, I have changed even in my personal life. Yeah, yeah, I don't do that business thing anymore.
Yeah, why? Why? You and especially ties. Nobody wants to wear a tie.
Nobody
No,
wears a tie.
no, even if it's a funeral, we don't want to wear a tie.
Well,
Mm-mm.
even the news presenters,
Yeah.
on TV are now no tie. They're still wearing maybe a suit, but and a dress shirt, but open collar.
I had to wear a tie when I went to school.
Yeah, I did
Yep,
too.
we had to wear ties, and then it became fashionable for women to wear ties as a thing, which I thought was nuts because I hated wearing a school uniform. And in South Africa and Kenya and England, it was uniforms. You had to.
Yeah.
And I rebelled in every shape and form to the one school you had to wear a hat. And every time the bus took off, I'd throw my hat under the bus. And boy, did I get in trouble for that. I it was fashionable to make holes in our sweaters. You weren't allowed to wear a sweater without a blazer on. You had to wear your tie. If you loosened your tie, oh man, the laws, the rules, especially when I
Yep,
went to
yep.
boarding school, were insane. My one friend dyed her hair, and so she had dark hair, and then she cut it. It was in the 80s, late 80s. We were brats. Dyed it blonde, like platinum and blonde, right? She got like put in detention for a month. Our other friend got caught smoking and only got 2 weeks of detention. This is how ridiculous it is, right? So I say just let it all be. Just chill, man. Don't get rid of the ties, get rid of the blazers. I'm just saying, unless you're a politician. And that's my next thing. I asked, what would you want to be for a day? Just to learn something new. And you said politician. Like right now, you want to be a politician? It's got to be
Absolutely,
interesting. Actually, it would be really interesting, wouldn't it?
absolutely. I want to know. I want to know a lot of things. I want to know all the secrets. We have these conspiracy theorists, so I'm thinking some of them are probably true.
Yeah.
I want to know which ones are true and which ones are false. I want to know how the deals are being made in the back room. I want to know what the real game plan is for things like tariffs. I would love to know not what is being said in the news, but
Yeah.
what the idea really is. And yeah, so I think we are we have plenty of news coverage 24 hours a day, a lot of different sources for news. And I don't think any of them are giving us what's really the inside truth
Mm.
because it's withheld.
Hmm.
I think governments are like our parents used to be in the 50s. I think
Ooh,
they just don't tell the kids.
I was going to say governments are, you know what, and everyone has one. Just because it's still human beings, and
Right.
human beings, Lord of the Flies does not ever that is law. That is we are who we are. I think we're evolving, and because species change, right? And I don't mean to be weird, but animal species change and adapt to environments and change. And I think the human species is going through some radical changes as a living being. I mean, and to prove my point is we are giants compared to what we were 100 years ago, right? So
Yeah.
that has to do with environment, food, all kinds of things. You look at how our hands are and how we use phones. There's some weird things to do with that. I don't know the answers to this, but if you look at it, we're changing. So not just in why would we change just in shape? We're going to change in how we do things. And so I find that fascinating with governments. There's humans, and humans are electing other humans for specific reasons, no matter what. So everyone's pushing an agenda somewhere, yet we're kind of, I don't know. I feel like we're going into a new era and things get really hot and dirty and like crazy when a new thing is going to happen, like something new's coming. I feel like it. Something, I don't know if it's good or bad, but like we're going into something new. That's just what it feels like. I don't know. Maybe it's climate change. I don't know.
I want to go back to your kind of original thought about evolution. I think we're being hindered by technology.
Mm.
We are being de-skilled in a very big way. It takes no time whatsoever to do anything, calculations. You can use, my granddaughter uses AI to write school reports. I think that's horrible.
I was like, you were not allowed to use a calculator
right,
when I was growing up in school.
right, exactly. So I think, and even in business, computer systems are so sophisticated. They do so much for you. I mean, being reliant upon them is a whole nother problem, but we're being de-skilled. So we might be evolving in terms of height, strength, longevity, certainly, physical ways like that. But I really, really worry about being de-skilled. In big businesses right now, they're very, very, very worried about retirement cliffs when my generation and even the next generation retires. There will be no human knowledge of how to do business. It's all inside
Handshakes are
of
gone.
computers.
I feel like relationships are going away, or we're forming in a different way.
Yeah.
There's, AI has some positive things if you're looking at it as a tool, but like if you're writing your school paper, that you're going to have to input your knowledge. But the fact is, you could just ask it to give you the knowledge and put it in there. You know what I mean? So part of why we like podcasting now is we're having a conversation. This is not an AI bot with a podcast. You know how many people are using AI bots in their podcasts? Like, here, I want to get this information out, or making YouTube videos with an AI voice. Like, who
Yeah.
wants to watch a video when you know it's a robot talking? It's the weirdest thing. And I get it in some ways. So for those who are have vision impairments, like we've got a lot of friends who talk about this, like they want authors to do audiobooks so they can hear them. That's a huge thing. And so for podcasts, it's really important. And at the same time, we're looking at going, oh, we better do more transcript kind of things for those who cannot hear. So it's a very interesting world we're in, but we've got to keep some warmth. And I think that's the importance of the arts, and the arts to not be AI. I mean, there's AI tools, but can we have real writing, real arts? I mean, do you want some AI robot to write your book for you? It's not going to have that warmth. It's just not going to be that. It's fake.
Well, you don't ever get those moments of divine inspiration, right? Those moments are not connected to AI or to robots. So I think, yes, you would really miss a lot. A lot of publishers now are being very careful about AI contributions to fiction novels. And most publishers won't publish a book that has an AI contribution. If you have to list AI as a co-author, you're not going to get published.
That's creepy.
Except you can self-publish, of course.
Yeah, but still, it's weird. I want to write, real stuff. To me, it's like asking AI to write a song. I write songs, and it's like you no. there's some kind of heart soul that comes with something that makes you want to write it and use just there's those specific word. Even in a school paper, the right words are everything to
Yep.
sell that paper to the teacher. I always thought it was a sales process. Like any kind of art is sales in some weird way. It's storytelling, which is selling you on an idea or connecting you, selling on you on an emotion for you to feel. It has to connect somehow. And some people don't connect with it. It's just like every salesperson never makes all the sales, right? It's a numbers game, which goes into the AI robots. But storytelling is exactly what we went to at the beginning of this conversation is how do you hook someone in? It's the same thing, right? It's you have to sell it, you know, at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
And the right word from the right place in our makeup as humans is can make or break anything, change
Yep.
things,
I agree.
you know.
I
The
agree.
power of the pen to me is something to be treasured and to be protected, you know, that it goes beyond. And I wonder about books and their longevity, you know, with everything being online and in the cloud, is that going to be, is there longevity in that?
Well, certainly at the moment, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
There was a nonfiction book called The Long Tail, um, and it examined the fact that Amazon can literally store every single title ever if they want to. Uh, Storage of a book is very, very, very cheap. So they can have absolutely everything. So how long will that last? I don't know. And who gets to make those decisions? You know, uh,
Mm.
should we keep David Copperfield? Should we keep Moby Dick?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, you know, who
Yes.
culturally gets to say that's good, but that's not good? Um, you know, fortunately, human beings get to answer that question today,
Mm.
right? And it goes back to your comment about selling. We either buy it or we don't. And
Mm.
that's the proof of the pudding. Uh,
Mm.
you know, so uh, yeah,
Mm.
I worry about how social media has given license to absolutely everyone to have an opinion about absolutely everything. And they can all sound authoritarian or authoritative uh, in the way that they're presented. And so which ones of those things are people believing and which do they sense they should not believe?
Well, I think people are copying each other, right? I mean, it's even if you look at social media, everyone's copying posts and they go, this post is copied, please copy and share it. Copy. So everybody wants to say the same thing.
Yep.
It's like, okay, can you actually have a genuine thought and do
Yeah.
something new? Can we do something that isn't being copied and shared? Same belief. Can we actually use our brain and actually formulate an opinion that has some facts to it that makes sense to you, or even just ask a question instead of everyone copying the same opinion, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, so
Right.
and so said this, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to, just because I heard this clip or this headline, I'm going to repeat it and believe it. And then
Right.
if you're proven wrong, oh no, we're going to double down because I don't want to be proven wrong, and then I'll triple down. You know what I mean? There's a really interesting thing. So well, I find it all quite fascinating to me. I just find the human race fascinating. And I wonder what aliens are thinking of us. And I do believe they're there. Come on, man. They're looking at us going, come on, what are they doing? You know?
Well, it makes no sense for the universe to be the size it is, which is you can't
Yeah.
grasp the size of the universe. It is so huge. You know, I saw a map not too long ago. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure it came from NASA. So it showed the Milky Way, which is our galaxy, in relation to the rest of the universe.
Mhm.
And so it was just this little corner of the universe. And then in the Milky Way, the Earth is this dot within the Milky Way.
Nothing.
I mean, it just makes no sense for if this is an accident, then it makes no sense for this accident not to have been repeated somewhere else. There's just too much opportunity for it.
Well, they just found life on a planet. They had algae on it or something. So that tells me there's existence, and we're also limited in our knowledge, no matter what.
That planet is only 120 light years away, which is forever, but is extremely close relative to the size of the universe. I mean, that's a nearby object when you're thinking about the size of the universe. Yeah, I read that article. That was amazing.
It's a trip. See, I told you all that we go off on different topics on here on Big Blend Radio with Mike. Okay, so I do want to go back to on the writing side, but it is fascinating because you have to ponder these things to understand the human, right? So I wanted to go to your dinner party. And I always ask who invite three people to a dinner party to learn from, and you have three specific people that you want to bring in. So Elmore Leonard and William Goldman and Michael Lewis. Okay, so this is your writer's ring. This is a writer's dinner. Who's making dinner, by the way?
It's probably catered and
smart.
Delivered by a delivery service.
Well done. Yeah, and you can order it through AI.
Yeah, there you go. These three guys are still my favorites. Now, Elmore Leonard and William Goldman have both passed, so we won't be getting any new work from them. But they are my favorite authors. And on the nonfiction side, Michael Lewis is my favorite author. So there's an old adage in the writing world that good authors copy, great authors steal.
Ooh.
And I have stolen everything I possibly can from these three guys. I owe them dinner.
You owe them like a big dinner. Yeah, it needs to be gold leaf in that dessert.
So stylistically, these guys are really interesting. Elmore Leonard writes novels about basically petty crooks, and they're fun to read because these petty crooks, they have ambitions. They're wanting to move up in their world, and they're semi-delusional about how they're doing this, and they have no idea, when they do this, what's going to happen to them next over here. So they're really fun reads. But stylistically, he's all about dialogue and action. He minimizes author speak. He minimizes narrative speak. And I've adopted that as a style. People tell me that when they read my books, they're like at a movie because a movie is what you can see, the action that takes place, and the words that are spoken, right? That's all that comprises a movie. And that's sort of all that comprises my stories. They're very cinematic, and I stole that from Elmore Leonard. He's also an absolute expert, recognized by other authors as the expert in dialogue, in realistic dialogue. This is really how people speak. It's not how the author, thought to put it on paper. It's how people really speak. So I try to imitate him in that way as well. William Goldman is a little different thing. So William Goldman, people would know him from Marathon Man, The Princess Bride.
Okay, yeah, because his name was really familiar to me. Yeah.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yes.
Those are all William Goldman. And for some reason, people don't know his name as well as they really should. But so in The Marathon Man, Dustin Hoffman's brother's pistol plays a role in the whole thing. And at the end of the book and at the end of the movie, when when he's overcome his obstacles, he is a marathon man. He runs around the reservoir in Central Park. He's running around the reservoir in Central Park and he says, I no longer need this pistol. And he throws it in the reservoir. And it's a very meaningful thing that he does. I stole that. In the Undiscovered Country, the pistol is Randall's father's watch. So Randall's father, who was not a warm person, when he retired, from his job, he was given a gold watch, and he hated it. He gave it to Randall, his son. Well, Randall had been wearing it as sort of a snub his nose at his father thing. But after he goes through this whole thing with his mother, he achieves what he wanted to achieve, finding out her secret. Mama's got a secret. And he no longer needs the watch. And he goes to the graveyard and he sets the watch down on his father's grave and says, I'm over it. I'm okay with you now. You can have your watch back.
Oh my gosh. This is a movie. This is a movie. This is to be a movie with the watch,
Yeah.
Come on. And Mama's got to see you. This is that's going to stick with me all day. I'm going to write a song off of that. Mama's got a secret. Yeah.
You know that there was a song written because of the Undiscovered Country. So country and Western musician and songwriter wrote a song called Who I Am because he read The Undiscovered Country.
Wow. Oh, we're going to have to do you have a music playlist for any of your books?
I do. Not sure what happened to that. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to. I've got an idea for a show. This can be so much fun. All right, so everyone, you're gonna have to stay tuned for that. All right, before you go, Mike, one tip for anyone getting out there to write a book, be it fiction or nonfiction. One tip for someone getting started. Because we did talk a lot of negative stuff. So I want people to have the positive because it is fun and Mike has fun. So number one, I think have fun, right? That's no matter what. I mean, every industry and creative industry too, you've always got massive competition. I don't care what it is. And if you started something brand new that you have no competition, wait a few months, they're coming for you. Someone's going to steal your idea and create competition. So it's always going to be there and it's good for you. So it is. Competition it pushes you towards excellence if you want to do something more than short-term success. So I just want to say that because the book industry is wonky. It is tough, but it is so rewarding for us anyway.
Yeah, I think just exactly to follow on that, I'd say, the first rule is write to please yourself. If you like it, it's good. Write to please yourself. And if it happens to attract or please other people, that's an added benefit. Write because it's cathartic. Write because it's a way that you are comfortable communicating your feelings, your thoughts, your ideas, your whatever. The world needs them. Put them on paper and please yourself. You can't be deaf to criticism, but I think you have to take it as or make sure you know the difference between constructive criticism and the other kind, the mean kind. Just ignore the mean kind. If you're on social media, you know about mean criticism. You just have to ignore most of that stuff. But maybe the last thing I'd say is if you're compelled to write, if you can't help but write, if you can't help but put words on paper, you are a writer. Wear that badge proudly. That is a wonderful thing to be, and be proud of yourself.
Because it's blood, sweat, and tears and happiness.
It
is. It is. Mike, it is always so good to have you on the show. And I encourage everyone to go to your website so you can learn more about the books. And also, like I said, there's a link to a playlist of interviews with Mike over the years. So you can go to MikeNemethAuthor.com. The link is in the episode notes with the playlist. And you can get Mike's books anywhere. You can also order them from your favorite bookstore. So we like to support bookstores and libraries here on Big Blend Radio, whatever we can do for the independent voice and spirit. So thank you so much, Mike.
No, thank you, Lisa. I always enjoy talking to your audience.
And now we're all going to beam up and find algae. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.